Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the crypto coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined by Nathan. Nathan is an artist, now a crypto Web3 artist, and so much more. We'll get into that. Nathan, man, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how are you? I'm weird with formal intros, so that was cool. I don't know why. I always am like, fuck, what do I do here?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you handled that. That was very professional, and I admire you for the way you pulled that off. I don't know if I could do it that well. That was dope.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, introductions can be a bit awkward and
Yeah.
and formal, and also, I mean, an introduction, most people say what they do, right? But you're so much more than just what you do. So let's dive into that, man. Figure out who Nathan is and what you do, and also we're gonna dive into your experience in this crazy crypto Web3 world from the standpoint of an artist and anything else, man. So before we jump into that, tell us a little bit about your background, man. Like, I mean, I know you've been in art a long time, right? So maybe
Yeah.
tell that story. And
Yeah, so I appreciate it, by the way, and thanks for having me here. Um, yeah, I've been an artist for a long time. My mother was actually like an art and theater major in college and an artist her whole life. So I think when she had me, it was probably important to her to like get me involved in art and stuff. And I started to like show, I guess, signs of creativity at a young age and stuff. I was in like creative art programs as a kid in school and stuff like that. But like I told you in the interview or in the pre-interview, is that what you call it? We're just hanging out
yeah,
beforehand. I kind of rejected that. I think there's something, maybe a self sabotage aspect that I possess as a human being, where even at that young age, subconsciously, I kind of like rejected it and maybe didn't want the responsibility of being like good at something. Maybe it was like a lot of pressure.
mm, yeah.
So I think I waited till a little later in life to get back into it, to where it was like my thing and it wasn't, like teachers and parents and all this stuff involved. So
Man, and we see that a lot, right? With pressure and kudos to you. I mean, I grew up with friends, and for them, it may not have been art, but sometimes it was like sports, right? The parents are more into the sports and pressure the kid than the kid actually enjoys the sport. And so
yeah, I
I
was thinking
think,
about that when I was saying it. I felt like I was talking about like when I hear people talk about athletics growing up and how their mom or dad would like push them too much and they decided to quit or something when they had their own like recognizance, like when they kind of got to 18 or something. I felt that it was weird that she said that like
yeah,
right after. I
for
had a
sure.
lot of people growing up too like that for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a common one we see. But outside of that, there's music, there's art. It's the pressure. I've had a friend growing up that absolutely hated playing the piano, but was forced to continue lessons until he graduated high school.
They're probably happy now though, because they have this like really dope talent that they can pull out. Like if they're at a party and there's a piano in the room, and they
Yeah,
can just sit down and do something, and everybody's like, "Ooh, ah!" It's
yeah,
very cool.
yeah. I think like you. I mean, you came back to it, right? But I think for every
Yeah,
person, you have to take that journey on yourself, like to find out what do you really want to do, who do you really want to be, what that is, rather than feeling like it's just forced on you and you have this like you have no control over it. So definitely can understand that. And so you got back in later in. So how is that? Let's talk pre crypto Web3. How is that art journey for you evolved from the time you got back in it?
well, so the reason I guess Web3 is one of the reasons I got back into art. I didn't see a lot of potential in myself as an artist throughout my, I guess, teens and 20s. I actually was pursuing stuff like MMA. I was doing like jujitsu and boxing and Muay Thai. I wrestled in high school, so I was kind of like felt like I was like maybe like aggressive or violent slightly. So I got all that stuff out of my system, and I was seeking like opportunities like early in my 30s. I'm 37 now, so like right around 30, I start kind of like looking around at how I'm going to make money in this world, and I discover crypto and blockchain specifically. I thought the technology was interesting, and I was looking at that aspect of it and less about like the money side and the investment side at first. So I wanted to learn how to program and do code. And I started learning that and realized like, all right, this isn't for me, whether it's my ADHD or maybe I'm not smart enough, which is fine if it's true. But whatever that is, it wasn't for me. So I start I start seeing this stuff with like NFTs and all that stuff. And on a technological level, it's a lot easier. It's not like you're like programming actual smart contracts. You have platforms like OpenSea that'll do that for you.
Right.
So I start to see through that my place as an artist in this kind of budding community, because this was like 5-6 years ago. So um, I realized that I might not be able to do this sort of tech aspect of the industry, or have like a job in that area, but I can get a job in the NFT area,
Yeah.
in the art area specifically. Um, and that's when I started creating NFTs, which led me to my first bunch of sales, which led me to work at a few Web3 companies. I was I worked at a company called Superworld for a while.
Okay.
I worked at a company called Legend Art for a while that did a lot of drops with like big name musicians, and they worked with like Warner Music and stuff. So it took me on a weird journey. I met Ken Bozak, a friend of ours.
Yeah.
I became his co-host for a little bit, and then again, art journey kind of took me back. It's been a wild ride. I don't know. There's a lot of shit in there that we could dive into, I guess. But
Yeah. So much. Yeah. We're definitely jump into that, man. And, but you know, you're jumping in at the early phase of this whole
yeah,
emergence of art basically on chain art, right? I mean, being able to
yeah,
create that, and it creates so many opportunities. And I think so many people dismiss NFTs that don't understand it because they just think of, oh, it's just a JPEG on a blockchain, right? They don't
right.
understand all the potential, all the possibilities. And like you, man, I got to give kudos to Ken, because Ken and I were standing in a line. I think it was 2017 or 2018 to get an autograph from Tim Draper, who had just wrote a new book and was handing out free books at the conference.
Yeah.
And Ken starts telling me more about NFTs. Now, I had bought an NFT. So this was 2018, because in December 2017, I had bought a couple of crypto kitties. I was
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
playing around with that, and it was fun because you were able to breed them and make new ones. And then it was just kind of this whole concept. And I collected sports cards as a kid, so for me, I saw the collectible side of it. And then Ken, in that line in 2018, he just starts going down the list of everything you could do with NFTs, and I was like, holy cow! And I just met Ken like a few days prior, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, this guy's wearing pajamas. Looks like he wouldn't know that much, but when you tap into his brain, man, there's so much there. And he's
It's like
done
a
a lot of
master.
exposing people to NFTs, using it to build communities, to create art, to help uplift emerging artists. There's so much you can do, and that's where I'd like to go, man. Like, so what did you see? So you jumped back into art when you saw it, learned about blockchain and crypto and NFTs. Um, but what did you like? What kind of compelled you to jump back in it? Was it that mixture of tech and art?
Yeah, it was this. I felt like there was this renaissance of, because there was a lot of things going on in my life at the time, and I feel like this combined technology, art, and finance in a way where it was like this this one piece, this one thing. And so all these aspects of my life that I had been sort of chasing or trying to like figure out, they all kind of merged into this crossroad or this nexus. And I was like, this seems to deliver everything I'm looking for. And as an artist, um, I mean, it's obviously hard to get your stuff into places in the physical world. There's a lot of competition for like wall space, I guess you would
Right.
say. Um, and as a musician too, there's a lot of competition for like stage time, and I'm both artist and musician.
Right.
So I saw this digital medium as a way to where it was a pretty unsaturated market at the time. So I was able to kind of get in there, establish myself, and I didn't see it as much more as like a Shopify store at first or something, where it's like you have your items, and if you promote them and market them properly, you can make a lot of money. The difference is you can price them however you want, and it's like it's not like competing against other t-shirt brands that should be $30 or whatever, so yours has to be $30. You can value your own art at your own price and put it up, whatever. So I thought it was interesting for a lot of reasons. I like the community aspect of being able to sell things to people and understand like where their wallet is so that you can give them other things. You can allow them into
Yeah.
shows or any kind of event. There's just so much stuff that it delivered. So yeah, it felt like you're creating like digital toys that only half the world understood, or even like
Yeah.
1% of the world understood or less.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're getting in early. But yeah, the one thing, I mean, you mentioned kind of talking about wall space, but outside of just the fact of how hard it is for wall space,
Yeah.
as an artist of just a physical good, you've got to rely on basically physical location, right? It's
Yeah.
the only people that are going to see that piece are the people that walk by it, whether it's in a museum, an art gallery, or on a street at an art show or something. You got to rely on that. Whereas someone that appreciates your art on the other side of the world can pick up that digital art and own a piece of that, right? Just by buying it, and that
Yeah.
person, like it's able to connect you with a following, a community, and fans that you normally probably would never get a chance to connect with, because if you're only displaying in the physical world, like, physical pieces, then you're not going to reach the global audience.
Yeah. And I think there's something about that, the fact that I could like sell a piece of art to somebody in like a third world country or buy a piece of art to somebody in a third world country is probably more of the way to do it because
Yeah,
our system is at a higher level on a monetary scale. Um, I thought that was really interesting. You could interact on all these levels, like even if their country doesn't participate in the same way as the rest of us. Like there's a lot of countries where you can't interact with American citizens financially and stuff like that. I have people who've bought my art in countries where they're like basically not allowed to do business with us, and I thought that was interesting because they're not criminals. They were just people that wanted to buy a piece of artwork,
yeah,
and they weren't legally allowed to do that, but through crypto they were. So I thought that was interesting.
that is,
Uh,
man. Because you think about that, I mean, and I agree. Like any of the, like, people will look at these countries that may be like sanctioned or barred from doing business with us. The
yeah,
individual citizens in those countries, they're not bad people.
yeah, they're like
They may
us.
have bad leaders, right? But at
Yeah,
the same time, and some of them are they don't have the same benefits we do of more freedom. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, because those, even if the country is allowed to do business with us, right? Oh, what's the old process? Was you have to go through all these different currency exchanges or Western Union or MoneyGram, and you got to pay tons of money to convert those currencies over, to where if you're buying something from an artist in, in say like a third world country or somewhere like that, um, they're being like, basically fees and exchange rates are taking out 20 to 30 to 40% of the
yeah,
value that they're supposed to be receiving, and
yeah,
crypto actually fixes that because they're getting the same value minus a very small transaction fee depending on what network you use.
yeah, exactly. And then even on top of that, like I have a friend who is a super non-political, non-religious person, and he just happens to have been born and raised in Iran.
Hmm.
So he's stuck in the middle of this conflict that he really doesn't personally identify with. He's an artist, so he wants to just
Right.
create his artwork.
Yeah.
And through this medium, we're able to communicate and collaborate and connect with each other. And it has nothing to do with the politics or the religious aspects that are like, I guess, like bearing down and clamping down on people that are in that region, like that they can't escape from. They had nothing to do with. No, they didn't
Yeah.
create it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. My co-host on my podcast, the mental health podcast, Dimitri Buterin. So his son created Ethereum, and the reason I think that's super interesting, on top of just the fact that it's cool in general, is Dimitri was born and raised in communist Russia,
Hmm.
and he had to find his way out of there and create a life for himself in another place where he gave birth to this child that helped give birth to this DeFi revolution that's kind of taking things over right now.
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating to me that the way our lives kind of bend and move around technology, and the way our choices, whether you're an artist, a technologist, this is the thing, again, back to your question about why this interested me.
Yeah.
Here's a space where art and politics and technology and finance, they can all kind of dance around and also live independently. Like we can kind of we can communicate with people that are in like completely different places. Like somebody that can be born in a place like that, go to another country, um, and help basically like buck the entire system
Yeah.
like within the next 40 years. I don't know. There's something fascinating about that to me. And again, it's just like we're all just people too. So
Yeah.
it's not like nobody's on a pedestal. It's not like anything like that. It's just this space is so unique. Um, it just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. Just two,
Yeah,
like with, you and the guy in Iran or Demetrius, two human beings that are connecting on a similar purpose.
exactly.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. It shouldn't matter what side of an imaginary border somebody was born on,
Exactly.
right? Every person is unique. Every person is individual. Are there bad people? Well, yes, there's bad people. There's also good people, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's people that are just born into shitty situations. They're using technology to transcend and to kind of be themselves and to create the life that they want for themselves. And I guess that's why I kind of put that all in the same conversation there. It's just really unique. And then on top of that, the way that we've seen like Bitcoin and some of these other assets appreciate in the last, I mean, 2 years to 3 years, especially. Like it's I don't know. The amount of freedom and opportunity it's delivered to people around the world is just mind blowing.
yeah, deliver to people that were excluded from all of those systems. That's
Yeah,
kind of
the
what
nobodies.
Bitcoin. I
Yeah,
initially came
we
to
were
Bitcoin
the
to make
nobodies.
money. What's that?
We were all the nobodies. We were
Yeah.
just supposed to do something. We were all like kind of done, right? And we've
Yeah.
all found like a second act through this thing. You know, and I know it's not like a fix all. It's not like going to solve everybody's problems, but it did give a lot of people that were lost a place to kind of coexist and to kind of intermingle
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. I mean, I came to Bitcoin initially in 2016 for the money. I'm not gonna lie. But when I learned about how this technology could change the world in terms of impacting so many people, especially us, we take for granted some of the things that we have available to us in the U.S.
Yeah,
And just to be able to create that equal playing field for everybody, that was huge. And then seeing all the potential as the technology grew, and yeah, I mean, people today will knock Ethereum because it's so big and they think it's kind of ancient now, which is funny to think, but all these other, almost all these other chains would not be where they are today if it wasn't for Ethereum. And
yeah,
so Ethereum wouldn't be where it was today if it wasn't for Bitcoin, first. And so it's realizing that those opportunities, like kind of what Vitalik's dad Dimitri was able to do,
yeah,
create that better life, which led to so many different things that have been built in this
yeah,
industry. They give people opportunity to participate in DeFi that have never had access to a financial institution in their life.
yeah,
Artists
absolutely.
a chance to sell art to people all over the world when they may have never made a penny in their own village. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think, right?
It's absolutely insane. And then also, I wanted to touch on the thing about like Ethereum and all the chains. People get so focused on like the dollar price of these things,
Yeah,
and they measure success by only investor mindset, and we forget about the groundwork that's been laid. It's like thinking that Microsoft would disappear because Apple started doing good or something.
absolutely. Yeah,
Like that's what's weird about people like, oh, Solana is gonna. It's like, well, that's fine. I mean, as an investor, I love Solana.
yeah,
Um, I like Ethereum as just a human being and a technologist and stuff like that. It's all good to me. I see it. Base lives on Ethereum. Base is the second most transactions behind Solana. I think transactions that are meaningful. I don't know. Some people would probably get pissed about me saying that, but who cares?
yeah. Solana is mostly meme coin transactions.
Yeah, right. It is like only meme coin transaction. They have great tech though. I mean,
Yeah,
it's low cost, it's very efficient. I'm not like a ETH maxi, or I'm more of a Bitcoin maxi than anything.
yeah,
To be honest with you, I think like it's Bitcoin for like value, and then
yeah. Right.
everything else is technology. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I view it.
That's a great explanation, man. I tell people all the time, like I'm not, because they'll see me out in Bitcoin gear, right? I love sporting Bitcoin gear, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you're
you're
Bitcoin
awesome.
maxi," and I'm like, "No," but my viewpoint doesn't falter too far from that. Like I'm
Yeah.
a Bitcoin mostly guy, right? And there's other great tech out there, but you're right. Bitcoin is value and wealth, right?
Yeah.
It's not a get rich quick. It's a wealth. I tell people it's
Yeah.
a
It's
wealth
where I save
preservation.
my money.
Yeah. And then everything else is tech, and you're relying on companies and people and projects to build. It's not like the stock market, but similar in the fact that you're putting your trust and your value in certain teams to
Yeah.
succeed. But
It's very similar to the stock market though,
yeah,
because you have companies building technology and then offering tokens to represent and fund that technology slash build community and blah blah blah. The
yeah,
same way you would use shares of stock 100 years ago. I mean, it's like the same. It's the same concept to me.
yeah,
I think that a lot of people on both sides of the issue want to decouple from it, and I think we got to embrace the fact that like it's kind of the same. Like it's very
yeah,
much the same thing. All these stocks are going to be tokenized soon, so that they can trade 24/7 anyway. I believe. I mean,
yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree too. And back to your point earlier, and I think it was the first person I heard say this that kind of really struck me um, was Andreas Antonopoulos when he was talking about it not being a zero sum game,
mm,
right? Zero sum game meaning there's not gonna be one winner. Like when you're right, when people say, "Oh, this chain is a Ethereum killer," or "This chain is gonna be the Solana killer," why? Like it's not. There's not gonna be one winner. Like there's gonna be so many different ecosystems that will leverage and focus different aspects. And just like Bitcoin to me, like if I'm buying a piece of real estate and I can use Bitcoin, that's probably the most secure network for me to use to transfer those funds and send it anywhere in the world, right?
yeah,
But if I'm in future state, I'm walking into a store and I want to spend a little crypto to buy like a bag of chips and a drink. I'm not going to wait on Bitcoin for that. Now I know there's Lightning Network that could speed it up, but like I'm less worried about security and more worried about fast payments, right? So there's a different use case for everything. There's many
that's
different
where having
industries.
a treasury does make sense because then you're not relying on the like you can still have the speed of cash or ones and zeros on a ledger basically electronically at your bank. But like you said, we don't have to wait for this like 14-minute transfer like 2 hours sometimes. I mean, I hate to be a
Yeah.
dick, but it's true. I mean, I've waited a long time to get Bitcoin before.
Oh, look, man.
So
Last night I was minting some runes and it took hours.
don't
Yeah.
even start with me on that. Like that. So that's where the Solana people and the base people
Yeah.
start to like they really like they win the argument on that stuff. I don't see the problem in using real world forms of currency, even paper currency, as long as they're backed by digital gold or real gold. I would prefer digital gold because it's liquid,
Yeah.
like, um, and just the fact that like our country could accidentally discover so much gold that it devalues our dollar, like that weirds me out too. Like
Yeah.
if we discover enough treasure, basically like free Earth money, like it devalues the amount of the price per ounce of gold because so much gets reintroduced to the market. And if our money's backed by gold, then that would devalue the dollar on top of inflation. Now, maybe I don't understand how money works, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
Well,
that could happen too. I don't know.
yeah, that's just if they decide to back our money with gold again. But
Right, and
the
that's
fact to
like
be
the
coupled,
idea is
yeah,
that's my point is that with Bitcoin you have the reverse of that potential scenario.
it's it's a hard cap. Like there's no that
Yeah,
should be. Oh, we hit 21 million, and oh, you know what? Let's
yeah.
just
Although we're not on the gold standard anymore, I'm saying
right.
like
Yeah,
theoretically, if you're backing your money with something, you want the digital version where it's scarce versus this thing where it can be rediscovered.
yeah. That's like they talk about what these like asteroids and meteors that are in space. It has like $20 trillion worth of gold. Well, if we were able to find a way to get that back to Earth, the gold wouldn't be worth that much, right? Because then it's
Yeah,
not scarce anymore.
you got to keep it up there.
It's everywhere. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of the concept. Just like I mean diamonds. I mean think about diamonds value. That diamonds value are it's going to be continue to go down drastically because now they're growing in labs.
Yeah, and I've literally found so I live in this area of North Carolina that's really rich in gemstones and gold and stuff. And I just happen to be lucky enough to live on a property where we have like these veins of quartz running through where you have like gemstones. Sometimes you have gold.
Yeah.
And I've in rivers near here found, they're not jewelry grade, but I've found like rough diamonds.
Nice.
So, and they're like, you can use them to make tools, like drill bits and stuff. They put them on the tips of
Oh
these
yeah.
bits and stuff, and these different cutting wheels and stuff. And that's what. So there's literally shit everywhere. There's like gemstones and gold. It's all over the place. People really don't know what they're looking for. Like I prospect as a hobby, so I know. I mean, it's like literally all over the
Nice.
place. So, but yeah, I mean, the scarcity of Bitcoin is honestly like what gives it value, and I'm not worried. Like I've been in it since. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, we were under $10,000. We're under, I think, like $8,000, something around there. I think it was like 9,000 when I started investing.
Nice.
So also the volatility of that, knowing where it's at now, there's no part of it that feels risky to me.
Yeah.
I don't
Once
understand what people are kind of worried about or talking about.
yeah, well, once you understand it, that's what I tell people all the time. I had this conversation yesterday. We were on a boat in Miami, and the chef that was in there, when he got done cooking, he and I were talking about Bitcoin, and he was like, I almost bought a whole Bitcoin at 26K, but I talked myself out of it, and I just missed it. And I
Yeah,
talked to him about dollar cost average strategy, about how over the long term it won't matter. I
yeah.
said, are you going to have the same conversation? You missed it at 85K when it's 885K. I mean, and right there, it kind of struck him. And it was great because he pulled out his Coinbase and he set a recurring buy for Bitcoin for every week.
That's all that people need
Yeah.
to do. They don't understand that it's not like large investment. People are like, oh, a lot of people don't have that kind of money to invest. If you can invest like $1 in
Yeah.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then in 10 years it'll be $10,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then in 10 years after that it'll be $100. Like it's not crazy, but that's like $1 working for you. The
Yeah.
idea generally is just make your money work for you,
Yeah.
even if it's a teeny bit.
Yeah.
And whatever asset allows you to invest teeny bits, that's the best asset.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're poor,
Yeah. Yeah. Do what you can and it'll,
people need to read this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's like a really old book,
I,
but it's like it explains exactly what I'm trying to say. But
yeah.
I can't like put all into this. Have you read this?
Yeah, no, great point. Funny enough, just yesterday I was going through my Audible account and I had some Audible books that I hadn't downloaded to my new phone since I got it like about
Yeah,
6 months ago. And that was one of the ones that I re-downloaded onto my phone just to pull it back
so
up.
good.
Yeah.
You can listen to it in a few hours, and every time you do, it just like renews this thing in your head about compounding, which is basically like dollar cost averaging when you talk about crypto. You're
Yeah.
pretty much compounding.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, Nathan, man, this has been a good talk. I mean, definitely talking about Bitcoin. I didn't expect, I thought we'd talk more about art, but this is great where things steer. But I
yeah,
do
I'm
want to,
super into
like,
crypto.
look, before we wrap up, I do want to go back because I want people to understand. Like most people think of NFTs, like the normies that don't understand everything about crypto and blockchain. That it was a bubble. It was all these JPEGs that were sold, and now it's over with. But you and I both know. I mean, there's a lot of future in art and music. I had a conversation with multiple people this weekend about how much the music industry could benefit from this technology. So, what excites you about the future when it comes to, say, blockchain and Web3 in terms of art and music?
Okay, so I know it's going to sound boring, but this is what excites me about it. So there's so much AI stuff and so many AI creators starting to compete with like real creators that are well known.
Yeah,
And you're going to have all these provenance mechanisms to determine who, what, where, when, and why, right? So like, is this? I don't know why I want to say Drake for some reason or Kendrick Lamar. Maybe it's because they're fighting each other. But like, if one of them makes a song, right, in 5 years, I mean, the record label can try all they want. They're not going to be able to stop the AI version from out competing their version unless they have a provenance mechanism that says, hey, that's a bullshit version, and we can prove that
yeah,
this is not fake Drake, or that this is like the real Kendrick right here because Atlantic Records or Warner Music or BMG or whoever, they actually put this on chain, and they did
yeah,
it at this time, this date, and it's signed by so and so's wallet, which means it's theirs. Like that's what I'm most excited about. I
yeah.
know it's silly, but
Ah, no, you're right.
it is what it is.
Yeah. I think we're going to see so much opportunity given to people on the art side. I really see this mesh of physical and digital art, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm
because
using NFCs right now, and I'm taking the cards. Like, have you seen like Tangem and like all those ones?
Mhm. Yeah,
So any it doesn't really matter, but anyone that will hold an NFT, I'm just getting the cards, sending an NFT to it, kind of tucking it into the back of the canvas, and then putting an NFC and painting over that, so that people can like take their phone up to the thing,
tap it.
boom, tap it, puts up the bubble, and then like also if they purchase it, they don't have to like buy it and pay the gas to transfer it. They can just take the card out from the back of it and scan it, and like that's their
Oh,
wallet now because the
nice.
wallet's attached to the card. So
Yeah,
it's, they don't have to like get it into their wallet or anything. It's just theirs.
yeah, and they're not.
Simple.
That's awesome, man. Because yeah, you're not having to have them learn
They
how to
don't
set
got
up stuff like.
onboard. They just have it.
Yeah,
They can onboard when they're ready to, when they understand it in the future. They have the card. They know, hey, there's an NFT on this supposedly, and then in a year, their friends like, hey, let me show you how to get it, and they onboard
yeah,
them for you. You don't
nice.
have to worry
Awesome.
about it.
Yeah,
That's my thinking.
awesome, man. Awesome. So yeah, as we wrap up, I definitely want you to tell everybody where can they follow you, find out more about your art and what you're doing.
Okay. So follow me at Love is Nathan on all platforms. You can go to my website and I'm getting all these notifications all of a sudden.
Oh, good.
My website, you can see my music, you could buy my NFTs, see my store, and you do that at my link tree on like my social media platforms. And then reach out to me, DM me or whatever, say what's up. Don't send me anything inappropriate. I don't know. Sometimes I don't care. I mean, I probably won't care. I'll probably like it to so that you'll feel like discouraged. If you know you gross me out with your weird photos, you'll send more. I don't want that, so I'm going to pretend I like it.
There you go. There
Send
you
me
go.
all the weird stuff. Go ahead. I don't
There
care.
you go.
It's
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. All
What did
right.
I just do? What did I just do? I invited some
Nice.
craziness into
All
my life,
good. All good. I mean, it depends if they listen to this podcast or not. So we'll
right?
see. But yeah, definitely make sure to go follow Nathan on socials. Great stuff he's putting out. Amazing art. I can't wait to see that. Um,
Thank you.
I'm thinking, man, I'm looking at some of your art. I'm like, man, I would wear that. I would,
I
I like
appreciate
the
it.
sport, kind of what, uh,
I have a store where you can get some merch. I also have two collaborations. So I have a collaboration in the next few weeks with somebody called Wendy Day.
mhm,
She discovered Eminem, so she's like big in the hip hop scene.
nice.
She'll be dropping some stuff, and it's going to be my artwork. And then I have some stuff dropping at a skateboard shop in Charlotte, North Carolina soon. So
Awesome.
yay!
Cool. All right. Well, everyone, make
Send
sure
me
to
some
follow it.
merch.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. We'll do that. All right, everybody. Make sure to go and follow Nathan. Nathan, man, thanks for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I know we're going to talk some more soon. So, and I like to keep the podcast around this time. So,
Yeah,
I think in the next month or two, we'll probably have to have you back on for an update as well.
let's do
So,
it. The pleasure's been all mine, and I'm happy to come back whenever you'll have me. So,
awesome. Well, thanks again, Nathan. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
all right, love you, everybody.